If your man left you for another girl or another female, I just want to tell you something. Look, the new female is going off of hope than she is experience. I've told you before, I was the other woman in my last relationship, and I was going on hope that he was going to treat me better than I was experience. I hoped that he was going to change. I heard he cheated on his ex with her own aunt, and I had hope that he was going to treat me any better. Once I got my taste of experience in the relationship, I realized that he was garbage. He didn't treat me any better. He actually treated me worse. He cheated on me, and he called the cops on me, ladies. And what I'm trying to tell you is that a man will always jump into a relationship ASAP because he needs validation. He can never be alone. And that's the problem. When you're jumping from relationship to relationship, you're going to end up self-sabotaging it because, you're just jumping into these things because you haven't unlearned the old you. So just understand, ladies, I know he ruined it with you, but he's going to ruin it with the next female as well.
Oh, behave.
Oh, snap, fam. Talk about being alpha widowed. Let me get this straight. You were basically dating a Chad/Tyrone. You knew you were the side chick. He cheated on the main chick with her own aunt. Somehow you expected this player to treat you better. And then you're calling him garbage? Talk about that pot calling the kettle black on this one. Sweetheart, you're a side chick. You were never meant to be the main. What, you thought that he was gonna break up with his main and then treat you better than anyone else? No! You were an appetizer. You were never the main course here, sweetheart. And this thing about that men need to jump into relationships. No. Men don't need to jump into relationships. Women need to jump into relationships. Players jump into relationships because they want a backup. They want to have their main chick there and have a roster of side chicks. Sweetheart, you were basically on the bench and he was with his starter. And then you became the starter, but then you figured, okay, my taco is so awesome and I'm all that with a side of chips. He's never going to do to me what he's obviously been doing to other women. Yeah, I would call it delusion here, sweetheart, but you're well beyond that. This is more like 304 illusion. Before we move on, I want to bring to attention that 75% of my viewers are not subscribed to my channel. Come on, fam. You've seen my logo on other channels, and you're already here. Please hit that subscribe button and support the channel. It really helps out. Moving on.
You will get the apology, you will get the recognition when you no longer need it. When you don't need it, and look, this may take days, weeks, months, or even years, but when you get to a place where you're indifferent, like it's not going to do anything for you whether or not you get it, usually that's when it actually comes. Look, I don't know why this happens. I don't quite understand it either. I mean, I do know energetically you have just changed and it's not something that you're so dependent on in order to be happy. When I kind of like understood, okay, I don't really need the apology or the recognition in order for me to actually move on. And also when I really realized that I probably wasn't going to get it either because most people can't really own what they did because it makes them feel so uncomfortable, then I realized, okay, it's indifferent whether or not I get it. That kind of changed my life because I stopped being at the mercy of someone behaving or doing or saying something in order for me to actually feel better. I kind of like gave that to myself so I could just move on.
Damn! So Queen, you're saying that you get an apology when you no longer need it or no longer want it. Let me translate that a little bit from womanese. Men will get an apology from a woman when a woman needs to give him an apology for everything she did in order to get on his good side so she could either A, get back together with him, or B, ask him for a favor. And usually that's followed up with other factors. For example, if they have kids together, think of the kids. Think of a little Timmy or Jessica. That is if you're dealing with an ex-wife that prioritizes logic over fifis and tries to use said logic combined with the kids to manipulate the ex-husband. Anyway, back to the subject here. She said a key phrase there, and let me paraphrase it. Owned up to what they did. That's called accountability there, Colleen. I'll be the first gorilla to admit that not all men take accountability for their actions, but overwhelmingly, men take accountability way more often than women do. But I digress. The whole spiel about wanting to be owed an apology is something that mostly women want because they want to justify their feelings. If a relationship fell apart, regardless of what percentages were done by who, women will feel like they are owed an apology for the wrongdoings of him. Even if of all the wrongdoings, he only did 30% of them and she did the other 70%, her fifis tell her that she is owed an apology for that 30%. And that 70% will be justified somehow.
My story is not unique. I left a marriage after 15 years. I had 3 kids with the man. I had built a life with him, and I really wanted it to work. Deciding when it was time to leave, deciding that I had tried hard enough, deciding that yes, it was worth to take the risk of the unknown for leaving the known, which I had become very accustomed to over the last 15 years. And even though I was miserable, there was some security to it. There was a little bit of, at least I was comfortable in knowing what to expect. As the years would roll by, and every birthday I got the same card that said, next year will be better, I, somewhere deep inside, thought to myself, there's no way. And the only way that my life is going to change is if I leave. But I had 3 kids. And I was also thinking, wait, if my happiness means that I'm taking away the kids' happiness, and all of the guilt that came into play of, am I being so selfish?
This girl, I can tell you right now, sister, before listening to the rest of what you're about to say, is the answer to your question is yes, you are being very selfish to take away the happiness of 3 kids. I have no doubts that you were miserable because your fifis are telling you were miserable. But let me clue you in. I'm pretty sure that your ex-husband wasn't having a field day either. He was sacrificing for his family. You obviously were doing it for a while, but then, as the story usually goes, women decided, you know what, my fifis are more important than anything else, so I'm gonna break up this family and security, which you just said yourself, security, not just for me, but for the kids as well, and go into the unknown and make sure that the kids' lifestyle, along with mine, goes down because my feelings say it is much better to do it that way. Somehow, in the female fifi spectrum, this makes total sense. You go, girl. Think about your happiness. Although we already know that a lot of times the grass isn't greener on the other side, ladies. Or, in womanese, your feelings can change as people change. Let's see what else she has to say.
That I want to leave this, and is it bad enough? But here's the kicker. The kicker is that if you are in a place where you are absolutely miserable, you're being treated horribly, or whatever your circumstances are, but you know in your heart that the only way to change your life is to leave, let me tell you that you will carry guilt with you, that it will be extremely difficult. And when you are looking for people who you're like, okay, well, she left and look how her life turned out, and you're looking for examples, and your mind is researching for the evidence that you're going to be okay, I'm going to tell you that no matter what it is, that's the unknown that's on the other side. If you are in a situation right now where years are passing by and you are still miserable in a relationship and you're not being taken care of and you're not being seen and you're not being heard and you're just being alone in a marriage, the unknown is terrifying, but there's nothing more terrifying than looking back and seeing all the years that you wasted living in fear.
Hold up a second, fam. I can't be the only one who just picked up on that. She literally said that she was being treated horribly, but she was going to feel a ton of guilt for leaving. Please explain this to me. Make it make sense. How can you feel guilty about leaving somebody who treats you horribly? Unless, of course, you're exaggerating the situation. You're not getting treated anywhere near as horrible as you claim you've been getting treated, and you just want to find a way to justify you leaving. I mean, let me translate this from womanese. Her fifis tell her that she's being treated horribly. There really isn't any evidence to back those feelings up, but because she wants to get back on the carousel, she's got to justify it somehow. And women will usually say, oh, I was emotionally abused. And that is a very broad, very vague statement. It could range from a guy who's yelling at her 24/7 to a guy who tells her, we don't have the money to buy you a new handbag. And she considers that emotional abuse. Sorry, sister, you gotta be more specific. Something tells me that the relationship she left wasn't that abusive, or nowhere near as abusive as she's trying to make it look like. But hey, I mean, this is nothing new. Most convicts who are in prison right now claim that they're innocent. Not alone that she's got to get on a video sharing platform to tell the world that she's the victim. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how you justify things. Moving on.
You don't want to know the thing that is responsible for the most divorces? It is not what you think. It's not fights about money. It's not cheating. It's not lack of sex. It's not lack of intimacy. It's not disagreements over parenting. It's not addictions or mental health problems. It is lack of accountability. Some individuals with very significant insecure attachment wounds absolutely cannot take accountability for their behavior. They literally go through their entire relationship always defending their behavior. They never say sorry. Accountability is just, hey, I did this thing, or hey, I said this thing, and I acknowledge that it hurts you. And because I love you, my job is to love you in a way that doesn't hurt you. Even if I don't understand why this hurts you, even if it's something that wouldn't hurt me, that doesn't matter. Because I am responsible for loving you in the unique way that you need to be loved. I have to get to know you on a deep level to avoid hurting you in the ways that would uniquely hurt you due to your past and who you are as a person. And so when individuals in relationships come to their partner and they say, hey, this thing happened, it hurt me, I would like to see something different in the relationship, or I would like this to not happen again, they are just met with somebody who is defensive.
Does not compute. Does not compute. Does not compute.
Sister, I'm not going to say that you're wrong about the reasons you just stated as to the number one reason of divorce. All those are valid, even the one that you said is number one. But I have to say, your order of things is completely off because there are two other reasons that are higher on the totem pole than the ones that you just stated. Number one reason for divorce is called marriage. And number two reason for divorce is called women putting in for divorce, as they put in for divorce 70% plus of the time. Also, I want to touch up on the thing that you said, accountability. I already stated that there are men out there who do not take accountability for the things they do. But overwhelmingly, it's women who do not take accountability for things that they do wrong. I'm sorry, but women justify everything with their fifis. Then they try to justify breaking up their relationships again with their fifis. They're going to find the most outlandish, off-brand, out-of-left-field kind of reason to say, yeah, because he yelled at me when I was on my period 6 years ago, that justifies me wanting to find another man, cheating on him, divorcing him, taking half his stuff, and then asking for alimony. Because this new guy that obviously doesn't mind being with a married woman is my soulmate. Yeah, somehow I don't think accountability is a woman's strong suit, but I'm not saying anything that wasn't already known, or at least wasn't already known by my male viewers. Also, this gorilla's womanese is above average. The point where she said, even though I don't understand how this hurts you, I'm going to do my best to love you in a certain way, that was directed towards men. Okay? Don't try to sugarcoat it. Don't try to make it look like it was gender neutral, because women love to play the head game where they insinuate something, they don't say it, but you're supposed to figure it out, and if you figure it out wrong, it's on you. Even if you figure it out right, they still want to play it that way they can deny it later. Men will say, listen, don't change the channel. I'm watching a show I enjoy. Women will change the channel and then say, oh, I thought you meant something else. Now, if women say don't change the channel, if you change the channel on her, she's going to look at it from 20 different directions. Because women love to complicate things. And somehow, if you can't figure it out, it's on you. So you have to put in more effort in the communication, which isn't really happening, so they can blame you.
And who says, you shouldn't be mad about that, or you misunderstood me, or that's not fair, or I don't really want to talk about this right now, etc., etc., etc. Do you know how many marriages could be saved if people had the capacity to regulate their attachment wounding enough to go, you know what? Hey, I don't quite understand how that hurt you, but I'm recognizing that it does. And you're a unique person. And so I accept that loving you means loving you in the way that feels good to you. And so I take accountability for saying that thing or doing that thing. And I'm acknowledging that because it hurts you, I don't want to do that again in the future. That wouldn't be love. And then they actually follow through with changing their behavior. It sounds like such a simple concept, but what happens is that when people are triggered into their attachment wounding, they go into a trauma response. And that trigger cycle happens so quickly, their prefrontal cortex goes offline and their limbic system takes over, and they go into those trauma responses of fighting, getting defensive, minimizing someone's emotions, not validating their emotions, or they go into some kind of avoidance response where maybe they're like, oh, I don't want to deal with this right now, and they shut down. Those things are very, very common for insecurely attached individuals, and most people are insecurely attached. It takes work to build our capacity to have attachment security and to respond in a kind, calm, rational, thoughtful manner, and that's what I teach people to do.
All right, to my younger male viewers out there, I've got to say it. This was geared towards you. This is Basic Psychology 101 to get the men who are less experienced hook, line, and sinker. Okay, let me explain something to you. There were several key factors that she just said that I am very confident that my experienced male viewers have heard this before, will agree with me. They probably are going to point it out in the comments. By the way, use the comments. It's a good tool. You can get a lot of advice here. All right, she said, and I quote, "You misunderstood me." She also said, "That's not fair." Any man who has been married will tell you that those phrases usually come from women, not men. Also, the other thing that she said, trauma response. Yeah, who usually uses trauma response? Again, that's a female defense. And I'm not knocking women. I'm just acknowledging what they do. And she keeps saying not understanding communication. Come on, fam. That's basically what women do. Women love to use signal communication, as in, if I say one, you should know I meant two. If I say everything's okay, you should know it means everything's not okay. Men will be direct. You ask them, is everything okay? No, it's not okay. They actually mean, no, it's not okay. And this thing about, oh, what I said hurt you and I have to work on it. Oh, buddy, talk about indoctrination there. This is all to get you down to the level of trying to change the entire conversation based on only fifis. You're not going to win that. Want to know why? Because women are master manipulators when it comes to feelings. What is this gorilla advice? Simply put, if you're in the wrong, admit you're in the wrong, say you're in the wrong, do what you have to do to fix it. If you're in the right, and women come with a common tactic of trying to convince you that you're in the wrong even though you're in the right, hey, it's the fourth quarter. You're up by 10 points, just burn out the clock. Take a knee. You basically got this in the bag. Don't screw it up. She's trying to get you to go for a Hail Mary pass. Don't. Run the ball. You're going to win, bud. I mean, it's a mind game. It really is. And if you let them get in your mind and make you play her game, you will lose.
So lack of accountability is the number one reason that people cannot make their relationships work. They just cannot admit that they are wrong. Admit that, maybe not even that they're wrong, but just that they didn't know their partner well enough to know that this thing would hurt them, because they're a unique person and everybody's allowed to feel the way that they want to feel, right? Everybody's entitled to their own reality. If you want to love someone, get to know their reality and love them in a way that lines up with their reality. And if that's too much for you, then why are you in that relationship, right? If your partner is constantly asking you to take accountability for things you don't feel like happened, then you're in the wrong relationship. But otherwise, either you didn't know them well enough or you were careless. And either way, what does it hurt to go, you know what? I don't want to hurt you. And I'm taking accountability that I did say this thing or I did do this thing and it hurt you. Regardless if I think you should be hurt by it or not, it does. And loving you means knowing you enough to know that I shouldn't do that again. So I'm sorry for that. I don't want to see you hurt, and I will not do that in the future. If you or your partner, or both of you, struggle with true accountability, you are going to want to sign up for my hybrid group. I have one starting tomorrow, July 10th. It teaches you exactly how to gain the capacity to love your partner correctly in a secure and healthy way. Also, check out my podcast, The Love Doc Podcast. We are live on all platforms. Visit my website, thedatingdecoder.com. Bye.
Are we done here?
You know what, fam? I agree with her for different reasons. You see, when she said, why are you in this relationship if you're not going to take accountability for things that you said or you didn't know that offended her? Exactly. Why are you even bothering to be in a relationship with a person who you cannot satisfy because they're always moving the goalpost, always up in the bar, even though they themselves are not at the level that they want. They're always demanding more of you than they're willing to give you. And you know what? This advice goes both ways, men and women. I'm not just pointing out women here, but at the same time, this usually falls on women, not men. Not because men are innocent, but because this is more of a female tendency than it is a male tendency. And ladies, if you don't believe me, hypergamy is a real thing, okay? It's not some catchphrase or some cop-out that men come up with. No, there is a reason why the bulk of breakups is caused by women. It's because they're always looking to upgrade. They're always looking for the next best thing. Men are very easy to please, ladies. I'm gonna be honest. I'm going to point out just 5 factors that most men would agree, yeah, that's part of the basic foundation. Number 1, don't argue. Number 2, be submissive. Number 3, be attractive. Number 4, don't keep upping your demands. Be happy with what he can provide you. And number 5, be more of an asset than a liability. That's pretty simple. Note that men don't have a height requirement. They don't have an income requirement. They don't have an intelligence requirement. There are a lot of things that you women want men don't require of you. And notice, ladies, unlike this dating guru, I just gave you 5 key pieces of advice absolutely free of charge. If I were to charge you anything, hey, like always, like, subscribe, and share this post with your friends, even if they hate this gorilla's guts. I'm trying to help you out here. And if you're feeling extra generous, there's that beer fund link in the description. I'm just saying, if you enjoy this audit, click on the video in the end screen for more content. If you would like to support the channel, please follow the link in the description to donate to our beer fund, or like, subscribe, and share this video on other social media platforms. If you agree or disagree with anything about this audit, please let us know in the comments. I'm going to leave this audit right here. I'll see all of you in the next episode.